we're going to be doing is we're going to find intercepts from an equation. So here's your equation right here. What I'd like you to do in your journal is just write 2x plus 5y equals negative 6. Now, we're talking about if you have an x-axis and a y-axis, and you're creating a line, okay? The x-intercept is always where the y value is equal to 0. The y-intercept is when always x is equal to 0. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, sometimes when you guys are doing this, sometimes it makes it a little bit easier. Just use a little graphing app. We're going to use Desmos, and we're going to type this in. Okay? So right here on your computer, why don't you type this in? 2x plus 5y equals negative 6. So go to Desmos right here. All right, type in 2x, is it minus 5y? Minus 5y equals 6. Okay? So if we go back to our, 2x plus 5y equals negative 6. Hold on. All right, 2x plus 5y equals negative 6. So I messed up there. 2x plus 5y. Okay, easy fix. Plus 5y equals a negative 6. Now what's kind of neat about this Desmos app is what happens when you're doing it. It just graphs everything right as you're going along. So let's take a look at our answers. You guys see that right there? What does that say? Negative 3, 0. So what is that point right there? If you're using Desmos to help you, what does this point right here represent? That was what? Negative 3 and a what? 0. What does that represent? That represents our x-intercept. Okay? So one thing you know is your x-intercept's what? Negative 3, 0. Okay? Now, let's see if it gives us this one. What does that say? 0, negative 1.2. Okay? Now, what does this point represent? Okay, that's the y-intercept. Now, Desmos will not help you every single time because sometimes you get ridiculous, you get some continuous decimals, okay, and it won't work. So Desmos will at least give you an idea of what your answer should look like, okay? So right now, let's go back to our problem. We're going to use the cover-up method. So I'm going to cover up, and what does that say? What do you guys see when I cover that up? 2x equals what? All right? And when I cover this up, right here, what do you see right here? 5y equals negative 6. This is how you set up for your x-intercept. This is how you solve for your x-intercept. This is how you set up for your y-intercept. So essentially what I'm doing, when I cover it up, what am I making that equal to? I'm making it equal to 0. When I'm covering this up, I'm making it equal to 0. Okay? So now if I solve, look what happens. If I divide both sides by 2. What is x equal to? Negative 3. And here, when I divide both sides by 5, what's it equal to? Yeah. And by the way, negative 6 over 5, everybody, is negative 1.2. So on the Desmos graphing, it doesn't give us the fraction. What does it give us? It gives us the decimal. Okay? So what am I going to type in right here? I'm going to type in a negative 6 over 5. But you can also put a negative 1.2. The only time you can't put a decimal in here is when it's repeating. So if you had like 0.3 repeating, you couldn't type in 0.3 repeating. You'd have to type in 1/3. You'd have to know that the fraction. You might have a different problem.
No, because it was the same problem.
Oh, it was?
And it said I got it wrong. I didn't get anything.
Ooh, well,
I thought restarted it.
Well, I'll check that in just a second. Okay? Alright. So let me type these in. So we have 0, negative 6 over 5. Alright, so let me go over here. Alright. This is my wife, everybody. Say hello, Mrs. Demood. Alright. Alright, so here we go. So my y-intercept was 0 and a negative 6 divided by 5. And my x-intercept is at negative 3 and a 0. Hey, I got it right. Alright, so I'll help you reset it in just a second. But this one right here, we have one more. Okay? Alright, this one I'd like to do a little bit of manipulation. What is that? We have to distributive property. Okay? So we have y minus 6 equals 4x plus 20. And then I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So I get y equals 4x plus 26. So when I get one that looks like this, what do I like to change it to? I like to change it to slope intercept form. If it's in slope intercept form, automatically we know what the y-intercept is. What is our y-intercept equal to in this particular case? 26. So I'm going to write a 0 and a 26. So I know it's going to be a 0 and a 26. Now, this is what I'm going to do to solve for my x-intercept. I know what is my y value have to be for my x-intercept. It has to be a 0. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my y value equal to 0. And then I'm going to set it equal to 4x plus 26. Now what do I need to solve for now? I need to solve for x. So what are my 2 steps to solve for x? Take away 26 from this side, take away 26 from this side. So I'm left with negative 26 equals to a 4x. Divide that side by 4, divide that side by 4. So these cancel out. Now this can be reduced because I can take, they're both divisible by 2. So what is my x-intercept? Is that becoming? Negative 13 over 2, which is the same. You're right. It's negative what? 6.5. So I'm going to write negative 13, not 3, sorry, negative 13 over 2, or a negative 6.5, comma 0. Either one of these answers would work. Right? Now, what I'm going to do before I type it in, I'm going to go to Desmos. I'm going to type it in Desmos exactly as it appears. And I want you to understand, what's hard to see on Desmos is you're not going to automatically see the 0 and the 26 unless you zoom out. Okay? But you will see the negative 6.5. Now if we go to Desmos, it's kind of cool. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to delete all this. And it was what? Y minus 6 equals, was it a 4? Open parentheses, x plus 5? All right, so there it is. Now what can you see on Desmos? You can see the negative 6.5. But look what I have to do. I got to zoom out. And when I zoom out, what can I see? 0, 26. Negative 6 point. So right now, you guys see how on Desmos you can type in what? You can type in any equation and you can find at least the decimal equivalence. But the only time you're not going to be able to use the decimal equivalence is when it's a repeating decimal. So we need to make sure we know how to change that to a fraction. All right, so I'm going to go back over. I'm going to type in my y-intercept, which was what? Was a 0 and 26. And then my x-intercept was a negative 6.5 and a 0. Okay? So that's how you guys can do it with an equation. Now we're going to do it from a table. So if you guys would please, we're going to do 2 questions from a table. Okay? So if you would please, write this table down. Write this table down. Won't take that long. Write down 3, 6, 6, 10, 9, 14. Alright, so I'm going to go to my graphing calculator right now. I'm going to hit stat. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to delete these guys out. And we practice this. Alright? L1 represents your x values. L2 represents your y values. I'm going to type in a 3. Now I think it goes to a 6 and a 9. Alright, let me go back and take a look at it. 3, 6, 9, 6, 10, 14. Okay, 6, 10, and 14. Okay, there we go. Now this is a linear function. Now you guys can actually figure out the slope pretty easily. How much is this going up by? 4. How much is this going up by? 3. What does this represent? This represents the change in y. What does this represent? The change in x. So your slope, you can always get from a table. It's always what? The change in y over the change in x. What is our slope? It's 4 over 3. That's what the calculator is going to spit out. Except it's not going to say 4 over 3. It's going to say 1.3 repeating forever. Okay? But you guys can find the slope from a table. Okay? Alright, so now that we already know what the slope is going to be, hit stat. Right arrow. Go down to number 4. And what is this going to calculate for us? It's going to calculate the slope and the y-intercept. So you see where it says store regression equation? This is what some students forget how to do. So here's how you do it. In alpha trace, you select y1, and now whatever it gets, it's going to stick it in y1. It's going to stick your equation. When you hit y equals, you'll see your equation there. Press enter. All right, sweet. Can you guys write this down, please? Y equals 4/3 x plus 2. This is in the form of y equals mx plus b. You're like, no, it's not. It says ax plus b. But in the graphing calculator, a equals your slope, your m value. Okay, so that's your slope. I'm making a recording of this so you can go back and you can revisit it. So right now, what is our y-intercept? 0 what? 0. What's our b value? 2. Boom. We just found our y-intercept without having to do really any hard work. Now, this is how you find your x-intercept. You have to do one thing. For your x-intercept, you have to make your y value equal to 0. So watch this. I'm going to make my y value equal to 0. And I'm going to set it equal to 4/3 x plus 2. Now what do we have to do? We have to solve for what letter? Solve for x. So how do I solve for x? Well, I'm going to take away 2 from this side and take away 2 from this side. What are you left with? -2 equals 4/3x. But Mr. Min, this is fractions. We hate fractions. But all we got to do is just multiply both sides by the reciprocal. And these 4's will cancel out. These 3's will cancel out. And all I'm left with is my x-intercept. And you get -6/4. When you multiply it, but that reduces to a -3/2. So I'm going to write -3/2, which is the same as saying -1.5 and a 0. Alright? So what's my x-intercept going to be for this particular graph? -1.50. What's my y-intercept? 0 and 2. Now, do you remember how I said we stored it in y1? If we go right here to our graphing calculator and we hit y equals, look what's already stored in there for you. It's stored in right there. Okay? Now I'm going to hit zoom 4 so you guys can see where it crosses. Now your graphing calculator doesn't tell you the answers, okay? You have to know that that point right there represents what? 0, 2. And you have to know that this point right there represents -1.50. So how would you find it in the graphing calculator without having to do the computation? Here's how you find it. You got to see where the line touches the x-axis. So here's what you can do. Second trace, we're going to calculate the 0 in the graph. Would you agree the 0 is going to be between a -2 and a -1? So my 0 is located between those two lines. This is x is -2, this is x is -1. I press enter and look what the calculator does for you. It calculates your 0. And what does that 0 represent in this problem? That represents your x-intercept. Alright, so let me just go ahead and type this in. What was our y-intercept? It was a 0 and a 2. And let me go down here. Our x-intercept was -1.5 and a 0. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to do this super quick. So you don't have to write it down, but you can follow along. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Put this in what? The stat editor. Alright? So I'm going to hit stat, edit. I'm going to delete these. Go over here, delete these. I'm going to look at my numbers. There we go. Looking at them. 6, 9, 12. 6, 9, 12. See if you can keep up with me. Alright? Then I'm going to look back at it. And -20, -12, -4. -20, -12, -4. There we go. Alright, automatically you can interpret something real quick. You can see these are going up by 8s, and these are going up by 3s, so you know your slope's going to be 8/3. Okay? 8/3. 2.6 repeating. That's what the calculator is going to spit out. Okay? So there you go. Stat, right arrow, go down to number 4. Press enter until we get to store regression equation. Hit alpha trace. Press enter. Where am I storing it? In my Y1. What did I tell you it was going to be? 2.6 repeating. What's my Y-intercept right there automatically? Negative 36. Alright? So, what if you didn't know how to convert that? You know what you can do with the calculator? Do 2.6 multiple times. That's enough. Hit the math button, press enter twice. What does it convert it to? 8 over 3. Alright? So we have Y equals 8 over 3x. And let's see, what was the Y-intercept? Was it negative 36? I'll have to look again. Oh, there we go. Yep, negative 36. So here we go. Our equation is this. Y equals 8 over 3x minus 36. Your Y-intercept is 0, negative 36. Your X-intercept, what do we have to make our Y value equal to? 0. So here we go. 0 equals 8 thirds x minus 36. I got to add a 36 to this side. I have to add a 36 to this side. So 36 equals 8 thirds times x. What's the reciprocal of 8 over 3? That's right, 3 over 8. Alright, so right now what we have to do is we take 3/8 and multiply it by 36. Just take 3/8, multiply it by 36, hit the math button, press enter twice. What do you get? 27 over 2, also known as 13 and a half. Okay? Alright, so what's our X-intercept going to be? At 27 over 2, 0, or 13.5 forward and left. There we go. Either way, now this time watch. I'm going to do 27 over 2, just so you know you can put that in the table. Okay? So here we go. X-intercept. 27 divided by 2. 0. What was our Y-intercept? It was 0 and negative 36. You have all period. And by the way, that means you got it right. So that's all you got to do. Put it in your table. If you guys can put it in your table, you give me slope-intercept form. What can I help you practice solving for? Practice solving for your X-intercept. What should be the easy one? The Y-intercept. Okay? So good luck.